my ears hurt. So this works. Unplug this for now. So what I did, I took the radio apart, played with the soldering iron. This is up there, and then I took this off. This was the playhead from the tape deck. So all I did was I took out the electric motor and two little belts that were on the tape deck mechanism. So none of the, this is not motorized anymore. So these little portable radios, I discovered at a very young age, are notorious for drawing a lot of battery juice, right? And this one's 6 volt, takes 4D batteries, which later on I think I'm going to rewire it for USB, and you can go from there, or at least get rechargeables or some sort of renewable power on this. I don't like disposable batteries. So any of the function buttons, fast forward, rewind, and play, these three, activates it. The only reason it fed back was because I got it sitting right too close together. I have approximately 30, maybe 40 feet of wire on it, which I can shorten that later. But the reason I did that was I can plug in this stereo through the auxiliary into the headphone jack. So where I got lucky with this was not a 3 or 4 wire audio setup for the tape deck. It was only a 2 wire. And what's cool is this one's already been put out to both sides as a stereo system. So a stereo jack goes into this one, and it gets sound out of both sides. So taking it from a single channel to basically a 2 or 4 channel setup through this, and it pounds. It's just absolutely sick. So I get a whole range of lows and highs from it. Now, since the summertime, I started just practicing it like as an acoustic, and I've gotten a whole range of different tones out of it. But electric is completely different in itself. This thing, I kid you not, is an absolute monster on electric. And it's a beast. And I've only started playing it since last night. So I'm only practicing for the first time. And I don't consider myself to be all that good at it. But earlier today, I took it out to lunch, to a social setting with lots of people. And a couple of times I was told to turn it off because people couldn't hear themselves think. It was a busy place. So every now and then, so I played it acoustic as usual. I played it unplugged. And then once in a while, I quickly hit the play button, any one of the function buttons here, for a couple seconds, play a couple of notes out of it until it turns a couple of heads, and then quickly shut it off, right? And continue playing it acoustic. And anyways, towards the end of the lunchtime, started to step out to the exit door, and at the last moment, I took my backpack off, and I pulled the hacksaw out, and turned the tape deck on a really low volume, with about 3 or 4 feet of the cord coming out of it, and I actually walked and played it. And I walked a considerable distance, maybe about an hour and a half, while playing this thing, and it got lots of attention. It drew a lot of listeners on the way through. I even cut through alleys where people were doing their yard work or doing landscaping jobs or something, and I just randomly walk up and let them get a hear of it, and it just amazes them. It just blows them away. So yeah, this is just a little toy that I made. So play, rewind, or any of these, right? Oh, I'll take that off of there. So I do have fairly close clearance in between the pickup and the blade. How I first set that up was I didn't know where exactly I wanted that position. Let me turn that off for now. And so all I did was I held the pickup on my lap and then played the hacksaw flat across my lap with my wrist really tweaked back a bit. And I was using the glass slide. Earlier, I just finished playing with this, with the metal slide. This thing's wicked. Amazing sound. So, anyways, but that's what I made through the tape deck. Now, the tape deck idea came from something I looked up off of Google and YouTube, and I actually saw a video, I saw a couple of quick videos of the process of making this into an amp. Or this is a preamp, but I can use it as a main amp or as an auxiliary amp. And then my stereo system has USB, Bluetooth, auxiliary, and all the other normal functions. And then I also have amplifier and subwoofer to put through it later on. The RCA's here, a bunch of cords are up underneath the dash. And later on, I can really boot up the power in this thing and turn this thing into a real building shaker. And but back when I was in my late teens, up till my early 20s, eventually I grew out of the phase because I was living in houses and always getting in trouble for noise complaints. So eventually I gave it up. But back in the day, I was notorious for shaking buildings apart and doing damage just from audio sound. Buildings would literally vibrate themselves to pieces. And I got evicted a number of times. Now, I'd never done a hacksaw setup before, but I started playing with note variations, and I got this thing toned down really low, like earlier with a very loose blade, and this thing just shreds. Like anything that's got good amplification and a set of speakers on the other end, we'll start to notice the lows out of this. And it cranks up into highs where it has a similar sound to an electric guitar. And because I play it with a slide, either glass or metal, there's a variation of tones. So this one's cut this is a nice thick cut of glass. It gives it a fairly deep, hearty tone. And this one fits the pinky or the third finger for me. And the advantage with that is I can reach further with the pinky finger than the third finger. Well, about the same distance. And it keeps it in the higher range. Whereas then you go into this one enables me to go back right to the low range, right? And then not so much of the high range. But it keeps it within a certain tone range. This one, I get better sustain, more of a whammy effect, and like I said, longer sustain on some of the lower notes, and it holds. It's just like a guitar or a bass, and it holds the note longer, and also gets a lot deeper ranges as well. And this one, so far with electric, has proven to be an absolute beast. And this is just a half-inch drive impact socket, right? Well used though. The black coating is missing off of it, and so it's able to it holds nicely to the blade. I just switched the blade earlier. This is my kitty cat. He's finally relaxing. He's been a bit of a nervous wreck. He's not used to the loud music. It's really hiked up his anxiety or something like that a little bit. Don't worry, he's unfazed by it. So this blade, it's hard to tell. I would guess it's approximately a 1/16 or an 1/8 of an inch longer. I had another one. Oh, it's just the same one. Yeah, there's slight difference in the length of the blades. I found if you go to once the blade starts getting shorter, then you go, it'll go higher pitched. Where you go get a longer blade, because a while back this hacksaw had a deeper bassy sound to it. And part of the reason is because the main frame of this is either baked enamel, but it's basically painted, whereas this one's chrome. And then it's got this bit of vinyl or rubber on the handle, whereas this one over here is just bare metal. I found with this hacksaw, I was always getting a nice ring out of it. This one always gave a nicer, longer sustained tone, whereas this one, I always had a deeper bass, but a shorter, slightly shorter note. So I never bothered to make this one electric. However, all I got to do is cut these little tie wires out or untie them, and I can switch the saws anytime, right? To try to pick up on other things. Another reason I went with this, I didn't want to learn how to. I've never really been much of a musician, never, and I don't consider myself as one. And there was a few reactions today. Somebody was saying that's not an electric guitar, and I said no, I know it's not an instrument or something like that. I was making jokes and just being silly about it, driving people nuts, and. But when they see me actually walking around on the streets with this and playing it, they catch on. They realize, cool, it's an instrument. I'm just out there playing my own sound, right? I'm not listening to the radio. I'm not listening to the news. And I'm not singing lyrics. I'm not going around like, I could if I wanted to. If I'm having a bad day and I start, cussing, swearing, whatever, right? But no, I just sing. Or I just let this thing sing. And it likes it. It's a cool machine. I've gotten a lot of really wicked reactions of it.